Hello everyone. Today I am recording at, I always mistake how to say it. It's called the Arbol de Centurio, I believe. It's a tree that's 160 years old. You can see it here behind me. Beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Today I brought Ferdie on my excursion. Ferdie! Can you say hi? So yeah, I have a few things I want to go over today. One, I want to kind of give people an update on the Shopify store, the website. It's live, it's running. There is a test pack up there for download at the moment. It is primarily full of one-shot effects. The original idea was to do 1,000 effects. Kind of sounds good, but I've been jumping around and having different conversations with people about how to approach it, what to do next. And I think because sound design is something that I wouldn't consider myself a professional sound designer, not yet. I have been working with audio and music for over a decade now, but I want to release stuff more often in terms of audio packs. So I think bite-sized chunks is definitely better. I believe, sorry now I'm just concerned about the dog. Ferdie, come on, this way. So yeah, I think what I'll do is I'm just going to do 200 one-shots first. The primary goal of this project, number one, is essentially to get 10,000 emails. I will hopefully in a couple of months have 10,000 emails, and at that point I will start launching products for money, basically. Up until that point it will just be emails, or sorry, it'll just be free packs, and hopefully I will team up with a few fellow producers and get some packs out there in other people's sounds as well. So I took a break from uploading. I was discussing burnout quite a bit as I was burning myself out. I was just pushing myself too hard. I was working and being creative and doing this on top, which involves hiking and editing and uploading, distributing and sharing. So I was doing like 14-hour days for a while, and that's not good for anyone. So yeah, I took a break. Some people were pushing me to keep going. Some people said that it's better that I make better videos, take more time with it, not push myself too hard. This way I can travel more, go to cooler places, record better shots, and also be in different moods. So you won't just be seeing me in one mood, which for me it kind of felt like a bit of a lottery because I would wake up feeling a certain way, and one of the first things I'd think about is getting out and doing this, and don't think it's too good. I was kind of worried I was going to broadcast a bit of a breakdown, or maybe my descent into madness, because it definitely comes in waves with me. There's a few people that reached out and they gave me their thoughts about how I behave on camera and the general kind of goal of the project. Mixing mental health with music, primarily being the not the selling point, but maybe the kind of mission statement, the thing that differentiates this sample pack company from others. I'm believing and hoping that it will be that. So I'll be launching this episode probably in a week or two from the time of me recording this. And my intention is I was going to use Sprout Social. I was told that it was one of the better ones. I think it's like $300 a month. And I don't need that. I don't need to be spending that kind of money for what I want to do. I found one, I think it's called Metricole. Could be mistaken now on that, but basically it allows me to post across multiple platforms. I can schedule posts. So for example, I can make a reel and I can post it on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook and YouTube in 2 or 3 weeks time, if I so please. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting up the previous episodes, and I'm going to start adding captions, maybe some kind of branding, and I'm going to start scheduling different posts. The posts are primarily going to be cuts of the vlog, or sorry, clips of the vlog, clips of the podcast, quotes about music production, quotes about mental health and well-being, and maybe just some discussion topics, things to try and engage with people. I think I might stick to 2 posts per week, and that would total like times 3 platforms: YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. So there'll be quite a bit of content going out, and because this will be episode 10, and I'm giving myself a buffer of 2 weeks, you're most likely going to be seeing a lot more of my face after this video is released. At the beginning of this project, I will be uploading mainly effects, so it'll be one-shots, swooshes, transition effects, bleeps and bloops, just random noises, random things. And I will just be making a big push for whoever downloads the pack or a pack all they'll have to use is their name and email. And they'll essentially be signing up to be added to the mailing list. The goal of this is because I got some advice from a podcast from Stephen Cymatics, where he talks about getting 10,000 emails before you try and sell something. And I think that's a fairly good goal. That's what I'm going to work off of. This isn't going to be a specific genre sample pack company. It's going to be, we'll focus on different BPMs from time to time. Currently, the main types of music that I make are in between like probably 118 and probably 134. So just like house and breakbeat, this kind of thing. Something I spoke about when my microphone wasn't on the last day that I tried to record was what restores you. What do you do that gives you energy back? Now, I don't mean something like sleep. I mean an activity. For me, socializing can sometimes feel like it's actually taking energy from me. I suffer a lot with feeling exhausted after kind of demanding events. So I wonder, like, what do you do for that? How do you manage yourself? For me, I realized that I'm still quite a child at heart, bit of a child at heart. I really like to, I think nostalgia is one of my favorite drugs. I think that watching something or listening to something that makes me feel like I'm a kid again is something that really allows me to kind of reset, to take the edge off, to come back to myself, to allow myself to be at ease. It's very restorative. And I'm trying to figure out what other things restore me. It used to be music. Music used to restore me, like making it. But as a passion becomes a job, it kind of steals you of that. Kind of selling your soul a little bit, in a way. Maybe it's different if the work I was doing was a bit different, but now don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. But it just was something that used to restore me. I gave up recording as I was walking back home because I felt like I didn't have anything important to say or anything interesting. I felt like sorry, it's Ferdie just trying to navigate a little river. I felt like my philosophical brain wasn't like activated, and I started being kind of hard on myself about it. And I just thought that I'd give it another go, that I'd push myself, see where it ends up. Really peculiar for me, not being from here, but as I was walking down this way, there was lots of men with chainsaws clearing paths, making the place a bit more accessible, a bit more open. And as I was coming back, I seen some fella like lying down on the road I was walking on, and he smiled at me, and I said, "Oh, adios," or "Hola," and I was like, "Oh, maybe he's just, taking a bit of a break, hiding away. Maybe he doesn't want to work." And I kept walking past some vans that were parked up on the back road, and there was just like 10 bodies of men just like lying around the place, going to sleep, pretty much in direct sunlight. And I was just like, you'd never see anything like that in Ireland, never. Do you know, it was like, obviously they had their break, it's probably the hottest time of the day, had their lunch, and it's time for a siesta. And now I didn't know that the siestas extend into landscaping, you just go to sleep where you are. Now, don't get me wrong, maybe this isn't something that happens all the time, but I was pretty impressed. Thought it was kind of a good work ethic, you know. Most of the time we drive ourselves into the ground, and these lads were taking a nap in the sun in the middle of the day. And something I think about a lot is longevity, about living a long life. And I'm living in the right place for it. There's a blue zone, probably about 3 hours drive away. And I think, don't know the exact specifications of a blue zone, but it's basically just like where loads of people live until they're really old. A lot of centaurians, I think, if that's the right word. I think I mixed it up with a man horse the other day. Is that a centaurian? So yeah, I believe that living in a place like this where people get lots of sun, they share food at meals. So obviously, like, you know, you get your own plate, but it's very common to have like a spread in the middle of the table and you kind of take what you want from it. So I'm going to try and stick to less than 20 minutes per video. I'm going to try and get ahead in terms of content. I'm going to try and post at least a video a week of these hikes, and it will kind of be, yeah, like I said, staggered in time. So I will probably spend some time traveling and filming with the drone, with the camera, getting B-roll, and then I'll probably, when my philosophical brain is active or when I have something to update you guys on, I will record. I have some good news to share, and I want to say some thank yous to a few people. So like I said, the website is live. Has been for a while, but there was just loads of place filler stuff up there. Now there's just one product. It is a test product, but I'm going to change it and put in the correct information. But the good news is some randomer downloaded one of the free products. It mightn't seem like a big deal, but it's definitely a milestone because I don't know who this person is, don't know how they found me, but some form of marketing has worked. Whether it's been one of the vlogs on YouTube or simply just some random follow or someone I followed on Instagram. But here's to 9,999 more until my first products that will be for sale. And I'm looking forward to that because it becomes a lot more complicated of a process when you're selling something, moving into proper advertising, into meta ads, this kind of thing. And my knowledge of that is quite limited. I've had a bit of experience, and Meta do not make it easy for you to give them your money, which is surprising. They should definitely make it easier. I'm going to try and review some software. I'm still in the process of figuring out how I want to record stuff that's on my computer. Should I use my laptop or my desktop? There's different VSTs that I've encountered that I wouldn't say I know well enough to review yet, but it kind of gives me an excuse to get better at them and to really deepen my knowledge, have things actually interesting to explain, and makes for interesting content, I think too. So that's on the agenda. Speaking of agendas, I need to spend more time learning Spanish. My buddy Dylan mentioned that I should have some interactions if they ever pop up or the opportunity ever arises while I'm recording. Now usually when I walk towards people and I'm recording out of respect, I put the camera down. But maybe if my Spanish was a little bit better, I I'd be able to talk to some old people, and I could put some subtitles up and translate some stuff, and never know the type of person you might meet. It could be really interesting. I gave up recording as I was walking back home because I felt like I didn't have anything important to say or anything interesting. I felt like sorry, there's Ferdie just trying to navigate a little river. I felt like my philosophical brain wasn't like activated, and I started being kind of hard on myself about it. And I just thought that I'd give it another go, that I'd push myself, see where it ends up. Really peculiar for me, not being from here, but as I was walking down this way, there was lots of men with chainsaws clearing paths, making the place a bit more accessible, a bit more open. And as I was coming back, I seen some fella like lying down on the road I was walking on, and he smiled at me, and I said, "Oh, adios," or "Hola," and I was like, "Oh, maybe he's just, taking a bit of a break, hiding away. Maybe he doesn't want to work." And I kept walking past some vans that were parked up on the back road, and there was just like 10 bodies of men just like lying around the place, going to sleep, pretty much in direct sunlight. And I was just like, you'd never see anything like that in Ireland, never. Do you know? It was like, obviously they had their break, it's probably the hottest time of the day, had their lunch, and it's time for a siesta. And now I didn't know that the siestas extend into landscaping. You just go to sleep where you are. Now, don't get me wrong, maybe this isn't something that happens all the time, but I was pretty impressed. Thought it was kind of a good work ethic, Most of the time we drive ourselves into the ground, and these lads were taking a nap in the sun in the middle of the day. And something I think about a lot is longevity, about living a long life. And I'm living in the right place for it. There's a blue zone, probably about 3 hours drive away. And I don't know the exact specifications of a blue zone, but it's basically just like where loads of people live until they're really old. A lot of centurions, I think, if that's the right word. I think I mixed it up with a man horse the other day. Is that a centurion? So yeah, I believe that living in a place like this where people get lots of sun, they share food at meals. So obviously, you get your own plate, but it's very common to have like a spread in the middle of the table, and you kind of take what you want from it. Feeling a bit dizzy. Definitely should be drinking more water. I spent maybe an hour out in the sun with the drone in direct sunlight. My Irish skin is probably not too happy with that. As you can see, it's probably 23, 24 degrees here, and I am dripping sweat. So I set a challenge. Well, my buddy Paul set a challenge for me to make a track similar in ways to a track out in Dispatch called Agitated Lows. And I set a kind of task for him, an assignment to him, for making a track that is primarily sample based, a liquid drum bass track that uses the think break. The think break comes from, I think it's a James Brown track, or maybe a track that he's just featuring on. Can't remember the specific name of it. Probably Think. And for him to sample a piano and a harp, single note, and to write chords and melody. So essentially just like a sampled liquid drum bass track. Because he's very he'd skin the goat, he'd skin the goat to make the drum. So I'm trying to get him to find the breakbeat he likes, or a version of the breakbeat he likes, and write a tune primarily by sampling. Trying to push him in a direction that I'd like to see him do, or would have liked to have seen him do for quite some time now. Soon I'm going to be doing a bit of traveling with Angela. I can't remember the names of the places. Spain is such a massive country. So many mountains and so much beautiful architecture and amazing lakes and all this kind of stuff. So she's marked quite a few spots on the map, and hopefully over the next couple of months I'm going to see most of it. And I'm going to try and record it all and try and get as much video content together as I can, because seeing the world through the eyes of a drone, I recommend to anyone out there who's thinking about it, get a second-hand Mavic Pro 2 or Mavic 3. Might set you back like maybe 500 quid, but it just makes like going places, seeing things, like you really see where you are. It really opens your mind up to what the world looks like, and it's very impressive, very, very impressive.
So yes, it's possible for you to live your dream. It's necessary that you associate with winners, that you work your system, that you are relentless, that you never give up. It's you. You've got to take personal responsibility. You've got to make it your personal business to make it happen. And you've got to resolve within yourself that I can do this, that it's hard, but you've got to say, I'm the one. I'm the one to make this happen. I'm the one to become successful in this business. As you work to help other people to become successful, that feeds your success. But you know it's going to be hard, but find out what will make it worth it for you, for you, for you, for you. Think about your dream right now. Once you think about it and envision it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me share something with you. Ladies and gentlemen,
I am sitting here in a beautiful place where what they do every summer, there's loads of these stone benches, and you can kind of see that building kind of behind me. It's full of loads of different fire pits where at a certain time of year everyone gets together and they cook and share food and drink in an absolutely beautiful place with loads of what look to me like ash trees. They're quite white, although I might be wrong about that now. So the thing I wanted to talk about was when someone treats you badly, how do you not respond? How do you not lower yourself to their level and react with malice or aggression? Obviously, it's really difficult. Sometimes people do things unknowingly, sometimes people do things knowingly, and I think it's kind of like our duty to be able to catch ourselves from reacting emotionally to try and educate ourselves to be able to understand why this person might be acting in this way, or like, are they reacting to something that happened to them before? And it's obviously it's really difficult, you know, to control our own emotions and to try and use logic to like rise above and to not escalate the situation. Because if there's two people reacting all the time to each other, then it's just going to be like a shit environment to be in for anyone who's around. So I think it's really important to, when something happens and someone is acting erratically or emotional, to separate yourself from the situation, because there's nothing you can do or say without kind of getting entangled. And then it's only a matter of time before you become triggered or you trigger them. And then you just end up, it's like some kind of like magnet or something, you know. If you don't like, you know, push away, then they'll like suck you in. And I think it's just the best way to approach these things, so that we can take time, calm down, try to understand, and move forward. And maybe moving forward means to not be around that person anymore. Maybe it means we have to sit down and have a serious conversation. We have to determine whether or not that other person is actually capable of recognizing who they've been or who they are, or how they'll, you know, like how can you approach someone who doesn't know who they are or what they've done? Obviously we all, like, everything is subjective, we all have our own perspectives on things, but when certain people do things over extended periods of time, it's very difficult to, if you're that person, you know, it's very difficult to be able to hold a mirror up and be like, fuck, that's who I am, you know. And I think it's part of maturing, it's part of becoming an adult. I think if you don't do that, if you don't audit yourself regularly enough, obviously it doesn't need to be like self-harm levels, you don't need to be abusing yourself, wondering all the time if you're this or that, but, you know, to kind of zoom out and think about who you are and what you've been doing. So if we do decide to entangle ourselves with someone else's shit, or if there's just been something that you've kind of, neither of you have decided, but it's kind of been passed on to you, how do you approach something so complicated as like a family difficulty that hasn't been looked at properly? There's never been a moment to explore it without it being clouded by trauma, by emotion, by just undealt with feelings. It's really, really difficult. It's like, should people just stop talking? Should we talk to our family members? Is that our obligation? Do certain situations cause people to not want to anymore? And I always wonder, like, you know, it's like we're taught, like, you know, that like family isn't a choice, but usually they're the people that hurt us the most, especially if they are unwell in themselves, if they're addicts, if they're mentally ill, if they're not putting in direct effort to see how their behaviour or their actions has affected or is affecting others, then they're essentially just repeating patterns, and they're passing that pattern on to most likely their loved ones and their kids. And I just think that it's just like a requirement. If you don't do this type of thing, then you're not an adult, you know. if you aren't actively pursuing some level of personal development, whether it's with a therapist or through some form of formal education, or fucking reading a load of books, or just actively trying to learn about the human predicament, about what we go through as humans, as kids, as adults. If you're not doing that and you're just responding to life, getting up every day and doing the washing up and just causing shit for your loved ones or the people around you, or just like, what can I consume next? What food can I eat? What thing can I watch? What can I distract myself with before or after work? It's just a level of, I suppose, just being unconscious. You're just not actually, it's like you're not an active participant in the world. And the result of that is the unmet needs of our loved ones, whether they be kids, or children, or our nieces or nephews, or brothers and sisters, or parents. We're just living inside of our own world, inside of our own minds, and not actually actively participating. And because of that, we're actively causing harm. I believe. So, what do you do in situations like this? How do you avoid these problems? When there's a tough conversation that's needed to be had, do you instigate it? Is there someone in your life who's instigated it with you? Are these people usually the ones that they cause the problems and then disappear, block you for a while, and then show up like nothing's ever nothing happened? Or are you always left to be the one that has to reach out and apologise just so that they can have their reality? Fuck, it's a tough one, isn't it? Clearly I'm talking about my own stuff here, as I will be in these videos. I'm attempting to explore these concepts as I figure them out myself, and the only way I can be vulnerable is by being honest, you know. I'm not going to bring people's names or exact situations into things, but I just think it's important to try to give like a overview, in a certain sense, of common struggles that we all have